Hello and welcome to Raj Sabha TV. I'm Amritanshu Rai, you're watching Constitutionally Yours. In this program, we make an attempt to demystify the constitutional. And joining me in this endeavor are a distinguished panel of guests. Mr. Noor Khan, he is the District Session Judge, nominated by the Chief Justice of the Meghalaya High Court. Mr. Andrew Simmons, he is Secretary Legislature, nominated by the Speaker of the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly. And we have with us Mr. Jemino Mawthoh. He is an MLA and has been nominated by the Leader of Opposition of the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly. And joining us in the audience are students from Northeastern Hill University, mostly law students. And we are here in Meghalaya High Court, Shillong campus. We are on the 6th schedule, and the provisions of the 6th schedule create 3 autonomous councils in the Meghalaya state. Now, these autonomous councils are the ones who hold control over the land, and that is where the revenue also comes from. So, most of the revenue generated through the land and agriculture and other things goes to the councils, and only a small fraction of it goes to the state. Now, that's where the state government is constantly dependent on the center for funds and is not being able to keep up as far as payment of its portion of the scheme fund is concerned. We'll start off with the questions on the 6th schedule. Yeah.
Sir, the Constitution has given the ADC the mandate to protect the culture, tradition, custom of the tribal people. But we see today that the District Council of Meghalaya has failed miserably to do the same because of the provision under the Constitution of the 6th Schedule Para 12A, which says that the state and the center will have supremacy over the District Council law. So, because of that, can Meghalaya have a provision in the line of Article 371 like that of Nagaland so that it can protect the tribal interests?
Yeah, there has been a debate in the Assembly about this, whether Article 371 should be brought in the state of Meghalaya, because in the state of Nagaland, the special provision also has been given, 371.
So it would be good if you can also elaborate on what 371 is, because our viewers are from across the country. So we need to understand what 371 and what is the special protection that is there with Nagaland.
I think special provisions to the state of Nagaland as far as protecting the rights of the people, as far as customary rights are concerned, and as far as land is concerned, and so on and so forth. I think in a nutshell, it is like that. Special provision has been given to the state of Nagaland. Now, when we talk of the District Council, because I think because of this debate that has come in, why shouldn't we have, like the state of Nagaland, 371, why when we are having these ADCs, we have not been able to really perform in a way to really protect the rights of the indigenous people. Now, let me tell you, if we talk about the Autonomous District Council here in the state of Meghalaya, I think we are very, very fortunate that we have the ADCs. We have been exempted from this 73rd Amendment. So we feel that if the District Council should be strengthened, and if there are proper measures taken up so that there will be some kind of an understanding working together with the state government, I think there is no harm. Like, we have the District Council, we have the state government. I think if we put the people of the state first, as top priority, I think we will be able to address some of these problems that are, that are in conflict.
How can that be done? Now, that's the challenge, sir. My question to you is, he articulated it beautifully. He said that the state has to be at the top, but the councils have to meet somewhere in between so that the aspirations of the councils and the tribes are also met, but the state also continues to perform. How do you do that?
Well, all laws and acts passed by the District Council, goes to the District Council Affairs Department of the Government of Meghalaya. It examines all the provisions of the laws passed by the District Council. And similarly, we have a tussle in certain areas where the government feels it is within its, I mean, it has within its domain to act. And similarly,
Any laws that
Yeah.
Meghalaya state has passed which tries to bridge this gap or reaches out to address this problem between the councils and the state government?
well, the district councils makes their own laws and frames its own laws, and it always comes.
No, no,
with-
my question is, has the state government made any attempts in the past, has passed any policy to address the issue of bridging the gap between the council and the state government?
I think that kind of an exercise has not been made in the right earnest, let me tell you. It is only this time with the NGT ban on coal mining when the government of Meghalaya said that we should invoke that para 12A, right? So that we can also have something to say as far as mining is concerned in the state of Meghalaya.
Right.
So it is only when we have these problems, then only. But I feel that I just
So
want
it's
to...
it's a situational reaction.
Yeah.
It's not a thought out policy matter.
Yes,
Is that what
yes.
you're trying
It
to
is-
say?
it is a-
okay.
yes.
Yeah. Would you like to add?
I just wanted to answer specific answer that how the state government has addressed to try to gap these things. I think in 1971, this Meghalaya Land Transfer Act was initially passed by District Council. This act was passed by District Council in imposing restrictions on the transfer of the land. The act was challenged before the highest court and the constitutional bench of the highest constitutional bench of the apex court in Secy's case, Sion's case. It struck down the act. It struck down the act, saying that the district council does not have the legislative competency to legislate this act because it comes under the
purview
state
of
list.
the state.
So what happened is the state legislated the law. So where the shortcomings of the district council was taken care by the state. So the answer you had is that what steps the state has taken. So there are certain things maybe they excised beyond the jurisdiction. State came in and it tried to bridge the gap and by letting a law.
So what you're trying to basically address is that again it was a reaction to a situation, and that's how the state acted. As of now, there is no brainstorming in the legislation to address such policy issues. Is that so?
And this is, it is because of this fact that this this student has been asking this question, why not 371? So that the state has the power, when we come to articulating the dreams and aspirations of the tribal people. I mean, they have and working together with these traditional institutions. But whereas here, you have the district council, you have the state. So they are in conflict with each other. So maybe because of that only.
The sixth schedule offers protection for tribal areas in northeast and other parts of the country. So we'll take next question.
My question is, in today's new generation, people have lost interest in tribal traditions and customs, and at the same time, the district councils also lack power. So what are the steps that should be taken, sir, new steps that should be taken by district council to promote, preserve, and to protect the rights of these tribal people in Meghalaya concerning to the Garos and the Khasis and the Jaintias?
So I think you should be bold enough to take this question as a citizen of this state, not as the position you are holding.
Well, it's very difficult for me to comment on such matters because district council has its own authority, and similarly the state government has its own authority, and each feels that it is within its domain to legislate or to take any measures. So I think this tussle will continue for some time.
So the question is the disconnect between the new generation, that's next generation, the new generation, and the traditional councils, tribal councils. How do you?
Let me put it this way. See, I've made a mention in the beginning. Whatever observations that we have as far as the existence of district council, the functioning of district council is concerned, one fact remains which is common. That is, everyone agrees that it is important, it is important to strengthen these traditional institutions. Okay, that is very, very important because these are grassroots institutions. If you talk about development, if you talk about raising the economy of the state, if you talk about anything, it is these traditional institutions which has a lot to say in this regard. But what is important, according to the changing times and situations, we also have to come to the realization that we need to change according to times and situation. I've always maintained that tradition is dynamic, tradition is not static. So if we need to change certain areas, it is not that we are trying to alter everything that is part of tradition. We are trying to strengthen the tradition. Once upon a time, we don't have books of accounts as far as the traditional institutions are concerned. But now we have. Now many of these traditional institutions are doing that. Okay? So that is the difference. I mean, we change according to
So
the
it's
time
evolving.
to strengthen the traditional institution, not to do away with these traditional institutions. I think doing away will be, very harmful to the working and functioning of the society.
Any judicial intervention addressing the question that she has asked, the disconnect where an individual youngster may have reacted or acted in such a way, but the judiciary supported that.
Well, what the judiciary has done, what I can recollect, you see this, as I say that when we are discussing 6th schedule and the traditions and the customs usage, you have to understand 6th schedule is a constitution, mini constitution, constitution within constitution. I can give one instance of the judiciary, has made right to information applicable to the traditional institution. So that is what the judiciary plays a role. It was not applicable. It just wants that the people who wants that this institution should be transparent. There are laws in place. So judiciary said that yes, the functioning of these institutions requires some transparency. Now we have a law which gives the right for you to know. So we made it applicable. The judiciary made it applicable. What is going on there? At least you have got the right to know. You know. So the role of the judiciary we have to understand is that judiciary cannot become an administrator. Judiciary cannot become cannot start legislating policies. These are within the domains of the different organs. But when you find that any of these institutions has infracted your fundamental rights or even legal rights, well, you raise it before judiciary. Judiciary will definitely answer it.
It's time for us to head into a break. We will remain on the subject of 6th schedule after the break. The 6th schedule offers reasonable autonomy to tribal areas all across India and also gives certain powers and autonomy to ensure that the cultural practices and the traditions are protected in the geographical territory from which they hail. Yeah, the next question.
Sir, in a district, those persons who are holding the highest post in the district, they're not functional at all, and they're not doing the work properly. And when we talk about the upliftment of the youngsters, individuals, they said that it lies in the state government and the central government. So, what is your opinion, sir? And is it really true?
Not of the district councils or the autonomous councils not really performing as up to the expectation of its citizens.
Yeah, that is very true. I'll keep reiterating. We have the machine, but the people who operate the machines have failed miserably. Like Mr. Khan had just said, there are constitutional provisions. It is there. There are laws to protect and safeguard, to uplift the tribal people. But we have failed considerably because we have not been able to address these issues from the point of view that it should be addressed. And as far as youths are concerned, you were saying about youths, right? Why district council cannot address the issues of the youth population? See, when we talk about the aspirations, when we talk about the movements here in Meghalaya or in the northeastern states, most of the intermittent upheavals and agitations is being led by whom? It's being led by the youth population, by young people. Now these young people, they want to, the district council also to articulate, whatever they have in mind to address the issues of the tribal people, of the tribal community. So that is why time and again, because the district council has failed, so that is why time and again you find this youth population coming into the streets and agitating, and some of it has even gone to the extreme point of even even secessionist movement also.
So,
We really have to understand, because you're talking about youth population. So the aspirations of the youth also has to be addressed from a proper perspective.
has there been an attempt to address the concerns of the youth who are agitating, and who does it? Does the tribal traditional way take care of the agitational aspect, or does the state government have to amend certain things?
State government has been very insensitive as far as the problems of the youths are concerned, because I feel that if state government, if it's extra sensitive, why all these intermittent upheavals and agitations all the time? Why is it? There has to be something which is very wrong, happening in our society, in our state. So if there is something wrong happening in our society, in our state, and if the voice of the youths are not heard and addressed from a proper perspective, then naturally this tension will keep on going. But as far as traditional institutions are concerned, see, there are many groups here, we have conflicting views, but I think state government, district council can address, the problems which have been raised by the youths from time to time. The voice of the young people has to be heard, should be heard, and this has to be addressed from a proper perspective.
So the voice, the contemporary happenings that have been happening in Meghalaya and the aspirations of the youth, does the state and the district council or the autonomous council have inherent powers in them to really address the issues that the youngsters have been raising, or they just don't have the power?
I think the major decision is to be taken by the state government, and we have many pressure groups as well in the state of Meghalaya, and from time to time the government hold talks with them on many issues, and I feel these issues are being addressed with the government and taken up by the pressure group leaders. So I mean,
what you're saying is the state government and the councils have powers to address the issue, or they lack power. That's what I'm saying. Do they have?
Can I add here?
Yeah.
See, we have issues like a boundary dispute. We have issues like illegal immigration. We have issues like youth unemployment. You have issues like poverty. But this has not been taken up, from a proper perspective. That is what we're trying to say. Now, issues which has been raised right from the time when we got our statehood, or even before that also, that has not been addressed till date.
You'd like to add something to it?
Well, I just begin by one very good line by Roscoe Pound, the famous jurist. Nothing. Good citizen is the highest law. You see, we are asking so many things, but let me just pass the message to the young generation that, of course, when we are talking about so many obligations of the state, please don't forget 51A of the Constitution. What are your duties? You see, let us go on certain things. Let us be very clear. That you see, let's just be very clear that how are we also contributing to it. You see, that's what we keep on asking. As a judiciary is just one organ, and we see we don't try to say establish our supremacy, but it's the very how do we work is that, you see, how do we contribute? And one thing I don't understand is that why are these are the matters which are policy decisions. All right, these are the policy decisions. Now, these policy decisions are something exclusively within the domain of the legislature, exclusively. Now, the executive executes it. Now, you are being well represented in the legislature. Why don't you raise your grievances before the legislature? You elect the legislature. If the legislature is not performing, it is your mirror. It shows they are your representative. And this paradox this question you have to answer yourself.
Correct.
You are given the right.
Correct.
You are given the right to choose.
So my question is directed towards the legislature. Even though these traditional institutions have been established under the 6th schedule, but are they in any way accountable to the central government, either directly or indirectly? So what is your opinion on this?
Okay, I'll ask the judiciary to intervene. Are the autonomous councils accountable to the center?
Oh yes. That's why I said in the beginning, please try to understand the entire functioning of the Constitution. We are in a federal system. Now, in this federal system, there is a quasi quasi-federal system, and then where the power is distributed between equally distributed between the state and the center. Now, whenever there is any unequal distribution, that equality can be brought to a constitutional amendment. There is a procedure prescribed. Now, the powers which has been vested on the state, again it has been, given to the traditional institutions. Now, first of all, you have to be very clear. Article 244 of the Constitution, by virtue of which the district council exists, that in these tribal areas. Now, you have to understand that there are certain subjects enumerated in the state list. Similarly, in the district council, there are certain subjects. Just few moments back, I mentioned they legislated a law. They legislated a law which they did not have the power. It was struck down. So there are certain subjects which has been listed in the 6th schedule. So they exercise their power in conformity with those items. They cannot go beyond that. And please be very clear. These institutions are autonomous. The very word autonomous, you have to understand, it's autonomous body. They are not answerable to any person, but they are answerable to law. They are answerable to constitution. And that is where the judiciary sees that it tests the actions of these institutions on the anvil of the constitution. It is not that there is a servant master relationship, that he is answerable. No, we are all answerable to the constitution. So you have to understand the supremacy of the constitution.
You would like to add something, sir?
Yeah, when we talk about the accountability, I think that accountability has to be there at all levels. At all levels, whether the center, the state, the district council, the grassroots institutions, but there has to be institutional arrangements, okay, for mechanisms for proper functioning and working of the system as a whole. And this is where, we have to go as per the constitutional provision again.
Next question.
As we've evidenced from this line of debate that the main failure of the 6th schedule in bringing about a genuine process of democratization and autonomy in the region is the inherent conflict of power that exists between the state and the district council. My question is specifically how and what measures has the government taken to address this?
See, the presence of these different power structures in the state has really hampered growth and development in the state. You have the state government, you have the district council, you have the traditional institutions, you have the CMships, you have the, village councils, and one is trying to marginalize the other. That is where the conflict comes in. And we have to try and see, if we put people first, people first at the top, and then we try to work out what is the best way that we can do, to protect, safeguard, and uplift the people of the state. I think the areas of conflict needs to be addressed, needs to be deliberated. See, state government belongs to whom? It is ours. The district council is ours. This traditional
So the problem is that
ours.
all institutions claim to represent the people.
Represent the people, but there are conflict because of because of the politics that has come in. We have failed to address because of the politics that has come in. Different political parties, contesting in the district council elections with different ideologies and all that. I'm not saying that parties should not have their own ideology or their own perspective of looking at things, but they also have to take into consideration what is there in the 6th schedule. What is 6th schedule? What is 6th schedule for? It is for the people of the state of Meghalaya.
You'd like to add something to that, sir?
Well, as far as district council funding is concerned, funding also goes from the state government to the district council, and there's always the claim, or for that matter, the grievances.
Accountability lies with the state.
So, the state government is not releasing the funds for these district councils. So, these are areas, which needs to be addressed.
So the relationship between the district council and the state also is in some sort of a...
It's not exactly in harmony, I can put it.
There is no synergy.
No synergy. No synergy at all.
I've got it. So anything you would like to add?
Well, judiciary has very little role to play. It's only when these things, this harmony is brought before the court, they will decide it.
Correct.
Whether it is within our domain or not.
That's all we have time for in this episode. We'll be back with a new issue and a new subject, and from a completely new High Court campus. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV.